All right, I think we are ready to kick it off.
Yeah.
1 minute past the hour.
Do
Good
you have
morning.
to
Yes, sorry, Elena.
do you have to give permission for people to join? Maybe?
That's all good. We've got the attendees on board.
Okay.
All right, well, good
Perfect.
morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody, and welcome to our webinar today, Reinventing Customer Service with End-to-End AI-Driven Hyperautomation. This is brought to you by Blue Turtle Technologies in collaboration with Email Tree AI. All right, so I just wanted to start off by the time today to join us. I do hope that you find the discussion fruitful, but I obviously welcome you to reach out to me anytime, and we'll be sure to share our contact details. So today we will be discussing how to best leverage intelligent technology solutions to best serve the modern day customer, and how to best think through your digitization and automation efforts. Just to kick off, my name is Byron Wolf. I am the Digital Product Manager at Blue Turtle Technology. Joining me today is Elena Kuchlev from our partner Email Tree AI.
Hello.
All right, so diving directly into it, the on-demand economy. The on-demand economy is about meeting customers on their channel of choice at their convenience. However, it's important for us to know that the focus here is no longer on the access or the interaction, but rather on the service and the resolution of customer requests and queries. And so begins the foundation for true end-to-end hyperautomation. So it's no surprise that the on-demand customer compares their digital experiences with their service provider to all other digital experiences they have. As you can see on the screen here, we are, as an organization, finding our way into the customer's digital world and looking for that ultimate mind share. And so this is both a daunting as well as a very exciting prospect, especially given the way that the modern day customer is thinking and interacting and the tools and technologies that we have at our disposal. However, being digital is not merely about being more accessible or active on digital channels. So nowadays, organizations are faced with many challenges, one of them being the need to provide a delightful and consistent customer experience while dealing with the vast and ever-changing and growing numbers of customer queries, requests, and interactions. All right, so the proliferation of digital channels provides additional complexity in the source, the variety, as well as the velocity of information and incoming data. So as you can see on the screen here, using traditional, mostly physical channels means that the organization has a limit to the volume and variety of incoming information, documents, and requests. And in this scenario, the organization is keeping head above water. All right, they are operating at a speed similar to, or if not exceeding, the customers. However, what we've seen over the last 10 to 15 odd years is organizations have rushed to become digital. And by that, I mean they have added on digital channels. But adding digital channels increases the funnel at the source, which brings about additional volumes and variety of incoming data and requests. All right, so without leveraging AI and automation, it is likely that the customer is operating at speeds far greater than the organization. What we can see in this scenario here is that the organization's only option really to handle this is to scale with additional headcount. And that brings about added costs, lengthy learning, ramp-up periods, and the like. And so the key call out here is that the value stream can only operate as fast as the slowest process. And I want to pause here, and I think it's vital for us to be talking in value streams and customer journeys instead of business processes. And only when we do that does it allow us the ability to better analyze and understand true end-to-end customer experience. All right, and so what really comes to the fore is the need for organizations to really take a deep dive into their level 5 or level 4 business processes, but actually take the higher level of abstraction to review it again at the level 1 and go back down to that level 5 and back to level 1. All right, so it's trying to understand the business processes inside of a more systemic view. It's also vitally important that the entire customer journey is understood and catered for in terms of digitization and automation. And so the on-demand customer will expect consistency regarding the interaction and experiences also within their provider. All right, so this is now across customer journeys throughout customer life events and life stages. Okay, and this means that it is equally as detrimental to, for example, digitize and automate, say, the onboarding process and provide a delightful experience there, only to have subsequent processes being manual, slow, or creating customer friction. So what you're seeing over here is the entire life cycle from the discovery of products and services, exploration, and the actual point of purchase, all the way through to the use, asking, engaging, and even potentially offboarding. I have decided here to show an extract of a study focusing on banks, particularly around the value that customers are ascribing to trust, given the industry and the services that they offer. All right, but this is by and large very applicable across many verticals. It's interesting here to note that customers, even of banks, are placing greater value on the ease and convenience of the services that they receive. All right. And this may start to hint at the fact that trust is implied or expected by the modern day customer. And perhaps we would say not so much that nothing can ever go wrong, but rather that they have trust in the bank's ability to resolve any issues quickly, easily, and satisfactorily. Okay. And on the top right, what we will touch on a little bit later is talking about the difference between customer loyalty, customer trust, customer adoption and engagement, and obviously the holy grail is customer advocacy. In 1962, John F. Kennedy said that the time to repair the roof is when the sun is shining. And, similarly, organizations cannot wait until they experience customer service problems and begin to lose customers before they take action. And many organizations and industries throughout the entire globe, given the pandemic this year as well, has really started to feel that pressure. And it's vitally important that we understand that regaining a lost customer is arguably more difficult than onboarding a new customer. All right, so here again, we're starting to hint at the idea of customer advocacy and customer retention. It's also interesting to stop to take note at the Gartner's latest hype cycle here for customer service and support technologies, and understanding that when you are, as an organization, evaluating a technology or a solution, you may receive a healthy dose of skepticism or resistance. Okay, so it's vital that you know where on this hype curve you may be sitting with the technology that you may be evaluating. And one belief that I've held here for some time is, contrary to popular belief, people are not actually resistant to change. They are, however, resistant to being changed. And this means that change should be a collaborative and a consultative process as necessary, as far as what is necessary. But it doesn't take long for people to regress back to old ways if behavior and new processes are not enforced. All right, and that's quite fundamental when we're looking at not just cutting edge, technologies that are probably established in a field, but really that the bleeding edge technology that may be new to an industry or to a marketplace. All right, so in addition, we see that many technologies are gaining a lot of traction, but are currently in or nearing the trough of disillusionment. And so it appears that the market is starting to understand that these technologies have far greater value when combined with other tools and technologies. Okay, and I want to really just pause on that very quickly, because we will touch on that in subsequent discussions as well, is really understanding what I've called out over here, technologies and tools such as natural language processing, chatbots, and virtual assistants will go hand in glove. Similarly with robotic process automation and even CCaaS or contact center as a service. All right. Forrester presents the 3 megatrends of customer service off the back of this and tries to understand really what is driving the new technologies and what is driving the adoption thereof. Okay, and I just want to really pull out these 3 at this moment. The first being that AI is the foundation of customer service operations. So no longer can we put in AI as a point solution, but really it should be thought of in a very foundational, a very systemic way to start to fundamentally change the way that processes are handled and even designed. Okay, and I've just called out a number of technologies underneath here that really speak to these megatrends. Okay, the real call out here is that agents will no longer be essential to scale customer service. And that really leads back to the point that we made a few slides ago, where we were talking about trying to create scale through headcount, okay, and trying to minimize that need. Megatrend number 2 is that AI empowers super agents to focus on work that matters. All right. And here we start to lean further away from customer experience or CX and closer towards the employee experience or the EX world. Okay. Now, when we start to think of this systemically, we start to think in the terms of organizational psychology and organizational design, new ways of work and the like. This becomes quite fundamental because there are a number of different theories and methodologies around empowering the workforce to actually create that customer centricity. The third is AI transforms the agent workforce, and I think this goes hand in glove with megatrend number 2, stating that implementing AI and intelligent solutions here and now at this point in time will definitely fundamentally change the way that your employees work and operate. But going into the future, it actually changes the way that the organization may be structured. It may change the remote work. It may change the corporate culture and the like. Okay, so it's got a far-reaching effect in terms of its ripple across the organization and through time. But one key call out over here, I think, is that AI solutions should be seen and treated as digital employees, such that performance and output needs to be monitored continuously and models should be trained and retrained over time. So no longer is it all right to be putting in AI or intelligent type solutions and leaving it to its own devices. Okay. Here we can see that the pandemic has not created the new normal, but really acted as a catalyst for this. So what I've pulled out over here are the latest statistics around customer experience and the channels that are actually being utilized and offered to the organization or to the marketplace at large. And so the agent-led telephone channel has, for the first time, given up its #1 spot to email. And this is quite fundamental and might be surprising to many. That email is now the most widely available support channel offered by 89.8% of organizations. Okay. The second real key point over here is that AI-enabled channels and solutions are clearly on the rise. We have seen the greatest increase in digital adoption over channels being these that I've called out over here, being the AI virtual assistant, being web-based type bots, as well as the natural language or voice interface type bots. And what we will show you a little bit later is how we can utilize those core technologies being natural language processing, artificial intelligence, and RPA even into and across the other digital channels that are available, specifically into email as well. And I think that that's a great segue into this depiction of what we term the intelligence layer, as you can see in the center of this slide here. It's important for organizations to view all available customer interactions and customer channels and support channels and understand where and how to digitize and automate throughout time. Okay. So as mentioned earlier, digitizing one or potentially even a handful of available channels potentially could begin to break the consistency in the customer experiences and journeys across those channels. And that is fundamental because that is something that customers have come to cherish and even expect, right? We've moved on from the days of multi-channel into the world of omni-channel. We've also seen a fair amount of resistance potentially to AI-enabled technologies, perhaps no thanks to the likes of, say, Microsoft's Tay. However, the thinking and the technologies have matured to a point where it's understood that AI should be used to assist agents and not necessarily to replace them. And so the idea of human in the loop and assisted machine learning become paramount. So AI, again, is not a point solution that should be left to its own devices, but ultimately it is another employee within the organization that needs to constantly be nurtured, monitored, and reevaluated and retrained. So if we cast our minds back a bit to the earlier discussion around end-to-end hyperautomation, and again, just to double click and bold on that is the end-to-end hyperautomation, is what we've depicted here is a hypothetical illustration of technologies that aim to bind the customer to the organization. But this is potentially, one of the most common scenarios that we've seen in the marketplace. And these scenarios are such that, number one, digital channels have been deployed with very little or no automation. So organizations have focused on, as I was saying earlier, to be digital. And what they would do is offer new web pages and microsites and portals, new mobile applications and web apps, and even start to create an extra presence on instant messaging tools like WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger, and social media type platforms as well, such as LinkedIn, Facebook, and the like. Okay, that's scenario one, and that is the most common. Scenario two we see is organizations that may have deployed some level of automation for back end, and that would be your typical RPA, whether assisted or unassisted robotics. And that is really to do the automated service fulfillment in the back end. Okay. Scenario three could be that the organizations have components or technologies across the stack that have been purchased and deployed but are not tightly integrated. And so when we talk about hyperautomation, we're really talking about this level 1 to level 5 and these technologies that are tightly integrated to be able to speak to each other and create that end-to-end customer service. So no longer is it sufficient for an organization to offer multiple digital channels without the rest, or to offer RPA for back-end service fulfillment and not the rest. Okay. And so in order to combat these common scenarios and pitfalls, we believe that organizations should be spending a far greater deal of time and effort in understanding, the nuts and bolts of the machine that is their organization. And this way, digitization and automation efforts are well thought through, they are well planned, and technologies can be deployed in a harmonious manner. What you're seeing here is a depiction of these complementary type technologies that help organizations visualize their organization both today and tomorrow, that target state, and even conducting scenario analysis where possible. And these two are organizational intelligence, which help organizations to visualize the organization, the structure, the value streams, and even conduct scenario analysis to see what potential impact there may be on digitization and automation within a line of business, as an example, and process discovery or process mining, as some people term it, which really helps to better understand how things are currently getting done by systems and people. And this helps to illuminate potentially where risks and SLA breaches may exist and what areas or processes are most primed for automation to be able to get the maximum ROI. So we believe that there is actually a digital transformation process that organizations can follow, at least at a very high level, and it starts with analysis. We believe that once you go through organizational intelligence and process discovery type analyses, you can start moving on to the digitization and the automation type efforts. And typically just some call outs of key technologies that we've seen in the marketplace really getting a lot of attraction in this space. Again, to talk about organizational intelligence and process discovery. In the digitization space, referring back to that hyperautomation slide, we're talking in channel, the use of conversational AI, and that's the very complementary natural language processing and machine learning type technologies and tools. Intelligent document processing, that's obviously moving the next level of OCR into intelligent document understanding and processing, and potentially even the use of biometrics to create a fully frictionless, fully remote onboarding process, including identity and authentication. And ultimately, once you have got these processes that have been bedded down, have matured over time, and you don't foresee any state of change or flux in those business processes, it's ultimately there that you are able to start your automation efforts. Okay. So without further ado, I would like to hand over to Elena, who's going to show us very quickly one of these groundbreaking technologies that start to make use of the core technologies that we were mentioning earlier within chatbots and NLP, AI and machine learning, but really putting that into the hands of the customer and the organization on the channel that is most offered and most adopted, again, being email, as we referred to earlier. Okay, so without further ado, Elena, over to you.
Thank you, Byron. Thank you. So it is a pleasure to share with you today some information about our solution, about Email Tree AI, and to speak in the name of our team. So let me first say a few words about our solution, and then I will do the demo, a short demo, like Byron said. I will show you the web application and the extension too. And please do not hesitate to ask questions, use the Q&A section. We will do our best to reply to every question that you have. So Email Tree AI was founded in 2019, but the solution is in production since 2018. And we've created Email Tree to respond to great need on the market for a product that was capable to fully automate certain tasks and to streamline processes. And here the keywords are fully automate. So Email Tree, with some training, is capable to perform automatically tasks for you with no human intervention. And just to give you an example of what Email Tree does. So it takes the email that your customer sent, it opens it, analyzes the content, the subject of the email, then it detects the intents that your customer had. Could be one intent, so one question, could be multiple ones. And then it is also able to extract what we consider, or should I say what you consider to be the most valuable information in that email. Like, for example, if the customer gives you, communicates a new email address or a new customer account, for example. So Email Tree will extract all that information and it will use those pieces of information as variables in order to generate reply suggestions with confidence levels. I will show you those reply suggestions in a couple of minutes. So meanwhile, what Email Tree can do too is that it can trigger certain robots to perform certain tasks automatically for you. Updates in databases, issuing invoices, and so on. And when all of this is done, then you have a choice to make. Either you want Email Tree to send the email automatically to your customers with no human intervention, or you want to be able to check the email first, the reply suggestion, and then to click on send. Either way is very, very quick. So another important thing to say about Email Tree is that it is mainly a productivity tool. So artificial intelligence steps in, takes over the tasks that are repetitive with no added value, and it gives you the chance to focus on what matters the most, and that is the customer, of course. So let me show you the application. I will stop my camera and share my screen so that you can see the application. Okay. Perfect. I think you can see my screen. So this is Email Tree. What you see right now is a general demo account that we use to do demos for our customers. You will see information in many languages concerning many topics. So just to be exact, the languages that we have right now in Email Tree are the ones that you see on my screen, 14 in total. If you need another language, we can add it to Email Tree. What you see here are the emails that your customers send. you can see on the left the sections that you create yourselves according to your needs, and each section corresponds to a certain activity in your company. You can assign users to certain sections. Maybe you have team members that are specialized in certain activities, and you can assign those users to the sections. And the user will only see the section that he or she is assigned to. Moving forward, what we did is that we tried to bring as much information as possible to this main page. And this is why you see many pictograms, many small icons that show you some valuable information about that customer, about that email. For example, you see here a percentage, and this is the percentage that is the confidence level attached to the reply suggestion that is considered to be the most suitable one, because email tree generates multiple ones. So if you click on this percentage, you will see the email that your customer sent and the reply suggestion that email tree brought forward. All you have to do is check the email, the reply suggestion, and approve and run action if you think that that reply suggestion is suitable. If you want to modify it, click on decline and stop action. Okay, well, another interesting thing that you can see is this smiley face. It will show you the sentiment level of the customer who wrote that email. So either it's a happy customer, a neutral customer, or maybe an angry one. And this will help you prioritize emails because, of course, that angry customers have to be treated first. Now, to each section, you can attach or you can set up SLAs, so service level agreements. If you want, for example, that for an email coming from a VIP customer to be replied to in 1 hour, you can set up that SLA for the section VIP. Here you can see that the email was classified automatically by email tree. This is why you see the email tree logo in the section life insurance. When you see a logo of a user, that means that a human intervened and changed the selection or selected manually. Right, so you can also see to whom the email was assigned to and the status of the email. So I mentioned the reply suggestions, and maybe you ask yourselves, well, okay, so email tree will generate reply suggestions, but based on what exactly? And it is based on the information that you bring into email tree. Let's just say that right now you use some templates, for example, some Q&As, questions and answers. Questions that you receive frequently from your customers and the answers that you have to send to the customers. You can use a functionality called import Q&A that you can see here. We have also import blocks and dictionary that I will show you later. So import Q&A is a functionality that allows you to import all those pieces of information very quickly. I have prepared here an example. I put 2 questions. You can put 100 if you want to. So you can import information one by one or in bulk. I have 2 questions and the answers. So I clicked here at the bottom of the page, and you can see that the questions are isolated, are identified and isolated, and the answers are isolated too. In B is for block, in blocks of text. The second question has 2 blocks of text because this is how I wanted to organize the answer. You add questions and answers, and then at the end you click on save. And this way you brought sufficient information in email tree in order to start to trigger the processes. Now let me get back to the main page and let me open an email in order to show you a clear example of what email tree can do with the help of robots. So with the help of RPA, robotic process automation. So this is an email that a customer sent regarding a credit. So you can see here that the language was detected automatically. The section was detected, credit personal needs. So this was the section that we created at first. Then you see here the sentiment level, so the sentiment analysis. Here you see 50 because this email is pretty neutral. The customer is neither happy or angry. Then you see that the customer was identified in the database. So you have plenty of information on that customer. If you click here, you will have all that information without even having to close email tree, to leave email tree and go to a database, check, and lose time that way. Here you see a comment. So email tree has also a CRM part. It is a soft CRM, but it gives you the possibility to leave comments on certain emails, and those comments are made to be seen by users, so they will not go to the customers. Here you see the intents that were detected. So the customer asked for a simulation chart for a personal loan and for a meeting with a bank representative. You have the two here. Moving forward to the named entity recognition part. So named entity recognition is the part that I mentioned a couple of minutes ago. So email tree is able to extract the most valuable information from the customer's email. And in our case, that valuable information is the loan amount, the currency, and the period. And these are variables that are used to compose a reply suggestion, and variables that are used by the robot that you can see here in the section RPA activity, by the robot in order to compose that credit simulation. And the credit simulation, you see it here. So the robot did it and generated a PDF file and attached that PDF file to your email. So moving forward to the part Smart Reply, if I click on Smart Reply, the questions, the intents are isolated, so everything is analyzed. Then I click again on Smart Reply, and I land on this page. So here you can already see the PDF file, and you see multiple reply suggestions with confidence levels attached. So these percentages that I showed you on the main page. The reply suggestion with the highest confidence level is considered to be the best, so is prioritized. You can see it here. So you see that that reply suggestion is composed by blocks of text that you can move around, drag and drop. You can erase one. If you see a block of text here in the other reply suggestions that you want to use, just click on plus, it will be added here. You can search blocks, you can add a new block if you want to, or you can even add certain things in the body of the email. And when you're done, just click on Send and Learn. And why it is Send and Learn? Because the email goes to the customer and the machine learns at the same time. So with every email that you send, the machine gets better and better. This is the machine learning part. Okay, so this is the what we call Smart Reply, the main core of our application. Let me go back to the main page. So you also have the possibility to set up rules. Let me show you the part Sections, Action Manager. Here you can set up a rule that's called semi-automatic reply. So you check the answer before sending it to your customer. Automatic reply, so the machine will automatically send the reply suggestion with a certain confidence level. So let's just say that you want for email tree to send every reply suggestion with a confidence level higher than 90%. You set up the automatic reply rule, and you don't even have to to spend time on those emails, it will be done automatically. You can compose new rules, new actions, so you have full control over this part too. Here in the section procedures, you will see the robots that we are working with right now. It's UiPath, of course, Power Automate, Automation Anywhere, and so on. So we also have a part that's called Daily Dashboard. And here you have information about how many emails you received, how many emails were closed, sent, if you have backlogs, of course, reports on languages, reports on the average handling time, average answer time per user, if you want to, so that you have control over what's happening from a supervisor perspective. And this brings me to another important information. Your users can be either admins, contributors, or a simple user. So the contributor still has the possibility to add, to modify certain information, but the user doesn't have that possibility. So he or she will only be able to use the information that exists in the application. Now, here there are some other sections like blocks. Here you can see all the blocks that were added to the application. You can see the data. So, for example, here in the section clients, you will see a database that is internal. So you can put everything that you find to be important here about your customers. You can create address books, identities, so you have many possibilities here. The Action Manager you saw and the daily dashboard also. If you, I don't know if you have questions, let me check so that I'm able to answer right away. Not yet. Okay, not yet. So now let me show you the extension, which is very important part of our products. So customer service, this is the tenant that I used to log into this extension that you see right here. You can open it on the right of the page. You can open the extension on the bottom of the page too. So basically, this was created to help you manage the requests that come through other channels than email. So for example, if you use WhatsApp, if you use LinkedIn to talk to your customers, Twitter and so on, you open this Chrome extension because it is a Chrome extension. You copy paste your question here, and let me just use the example that I've showed you before and show you the reply suggestions, how it works. Let's take this question, for example. Copy paste it here, get suggestions, and you will see that you have two of the reply suggestions. You have this part where you can drag and drop the blocks of text. You can modify the order. You can search a block, add a new block, and here you see the answer. You have the possibility to put certain information in bold, italic, and so on. And when you think that it's perfect, you click on copy, and it's actually learn and copy, because even if we're talking about an extension, that doesn't mean that the learning is not done. So when you click on copy, you take the answer and the machine learns at the same time, just like in the web application. You click on copy, you take that answer and you paste it into LinkedIn, Twitter, and so on. Okay, I think that this is everything from our side. I'm pleased to leave some time for the questions. Now I will stop sharing my screen. And back to you, Byron. I think we could start answering some questions together and see what information we can share with our participants for the more.
Yes, absolutely. Elena, thank you very much for that demonstration as well.
Thank you.
I have seen a number of questions have come through. I have tried my best to answer them in earnest. So if we just review some of these now at the moment, we've got the first, obviously, is just more of a hygiene factor, really, about the recording of the webinar. So yes, we will most definitely be distributing the download link. Probably more to the features and the functionality of the technology itself of email tree, and being able to utilize it for specific incidents. In this case, it could be a cyber incident response plan that the organization may be putting into play, etc. So, Elena, what you'll see my response over there as well. Maybe you're wanting to review that quickly and add some extra color to the response. But ultimately, what it comes down to is that the organization is able to leverage best practice and best responses from their best agents and utilize that across the network of customer service agents as well. So, very many different ways that this can be sliced and diced, but an organization, as an example, can choose their best performing agents to actually be super users of the system and to create business rules for the technology, as well as what Elena was referring to earlier is blocks. Those are basically, in its name, blocks of predetermined, pre-canned text that can be dragged and dropped into certain pieces of the email response, and that is then freely available for other agents to use. So if you have a new feature or functionality, a new mobile application that's been developed, or potentially even a notice to say, please be careful. There are many phishing attacks at the moment, given Black Friday specials and Cyber Monday, etc. The organization is able to create that as a paragraph of text, and utilizing rules in the system, that paragraph of text can either be put into every single email response, or every email of intent X, or every email from mailbox Y. So just very quickly, just from that very high level explanation, I hope I'm kind of getting across the fact that the tool itself is extremely configurable, almost on the fly. So I hope that's kind of added some color. Elena, anything that you want to add to that?
No, I think that's pretty perfect. The main idea is that you have a lot of flexibility. You have full control over what's happening in email tree. You have the possibility to add new rules every time you feel the need to. You have the possibility to trigger robots to do stuff for you. So this is an application that really is made to bring you satisfaction and to bring to your customers satisfaction too. Yes, I think it's. I hope, that we answered to the question. Don't hesitate to tell us if we need to add some more information about this. I can see another question coming from Roger. So when you interact with a client on an engagement, how many emails do you normally require for training to generate initial classification that are at least 80% accurate? So first of all, what you need to do in email tree in order to trigger that classification, that training and that learning process, is that you need to have two sections, separate sections, and you need to have at least one email in each section. Then you import all the information that you already have in your system. And then you start, if you have, let's say, tens of emails that come to email tree, and you take each email manually and you set up the sections. So you start teaching the application what to do. So tens of emails, it's pretty good. The results are okay. That depends also of the complexity of the emails, of the intents. But then if you have hundreds of emails, then the results are much better. So this is mainly machine learning process. So the machine learns as it goes, so it gets better and better. this really depends on the complexity of the issues, and I would be more than happy to talk to you privately, and with Byron, of course, to accompany Byron, and to see what is your activity specifically, what are your needs, and then to see how Email Tree can adapt and to give you a timeline that is more exact. But in general, it doesn't take a lot of time to get really good suggestions.
Yeah, absolutely. Roger, thank you very much for that question. I think that that's fundamental. And what Elena is referring to over here as well is the fact that, yes, the tool is ultimately built around, a very intuitive UI. The rules-based engine, as an example, is not meant for AI specialists and machine learning specialists. It's designed for business users and for agent users. So it is intuitive, but ultimately, we will work with prospective customers and customers to design the solution up front, to teach it on historical data as well as data and incoming emails moving forward. And I just, to refer back to my one slide saying that AI should be seen as an employee, right? So we never want to make sure that we get to 90% and stop there, or get to 95% and stop there, because ultimately, anything short on 100% is short of 100%, and ultimately the number, the complexity, and the types of emails that will be coming in will definitely change over time. And what we've seen, I think, during the 2020, not to harp on too much again about the pandemic, but before the year 2020, organizations would never have dreamt of seeing emails coming in asking about COVID-related incidents, as an example, or banks that have to respond to emails as, can I still draw cash from the ATM, or is it unsafe to do so? Or have your business hours and your branch hours changed during the pandemic? And so ultimately, organizations need to make sure that this is, exactly as I was saying earlier, an employee that will be nurtured and monitored and retrained over time. Okay. I think that's quite fundamental. So thank you, Roger, for that question. And Elena, I just want to also allude to Roger's follow-on question there, really talking about the integration capability, when we're talking about microservices and the API extensibility, etc. So maybe you can touch on that very quickly.
Yes, of course. So regarding the integrations with Salesforce, we are currently working on this. So we have customers who are currently using Salesforce. We are doing our best to get to the point where we finish the integrations. So the response is yes, we're working on that. And well, I have with me also Maria, who is our success manager. I have with me Lucian, our COO. So maybe if they want to jump in and bring some more details to the Salesforce part, to the integration part, but mainly this is the information. We are working on this. Well, I think this is it. For now, this is what we can say. Of course, that we adapt to the needs of every customer, and just in case you need to integrate Email Tree with other CRMs, with connected databases, we always do our best to respond to those needs.
Absolutely, and I think that's fundamental. That really every customer that we will speak to, and every organization out there in the market has got their own stack. They've got their own corporate culture, their own way of doing things, and so ultimately this is not a point solution that will be taken off the shelf and deployed. Again, just to reiterate that we will work very closely with our customer to understand what their end state is and make sure that we are tracking against what that envisaged plan really is. But I think it goes a long way to say that, the mere fact that you have got those strategic partnerships as Email Tree with the likes of Blue Prism, Automation Anywhere, UiPath, etc. You've got those APIs and the connectors pre-built for the big RPA players, means that organizations that have those RPA technologies in their stack really can start accelerating their deployments and getting to that ROI very quickly.
Yes, so I think that we answered all the questions for now. If you have other questions, please do not hesitate to write them down.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if that is it for the questions as well, Maria. I have checked. There's one from Maria here, just from earlier on. We've addressed that one, obviously, and from Roger. So if that is all the questions then for today, Elena, I want to thank you on behalf of Blue Turtle and for Email Tree to avail themselves as well for today and as well for the demonstration. And then to the wider audience, thank you very much to everyone for taking our time today to join our webinar. I hope that the discussion was fruitful and really starts to get some of the thinking around how we can start utilizing existing technologies and tools that we may be familiar with, again, such as natural language processing and RPA and machine learning, but putting them into channels that we wouldn't otherwise have thought, such as email. And I think that it's a beautiful confluence of two technologies, one being very familiar, one being quite new, and giving the end customer as well as the organization the ability to really reinvent the way that we are driving end-to-end AI-driven hyperautomation in the customer service and support space. All right. So thank you very much, everybody, for your time today. Again, the recording will be made available. I want to wish you a very good day ahead and have a great week. Thank you very much.
Have a great week. Thank you.